From Chicago studios, this is the Muslim News on Muslim Network TV. Assalamu alaikum, I'm Samana Siddiqui. First, the headlines. U.S. federal hate crime charges filed against suspected Buffalo gunman. Medicare for all could have prevented over 338,000 U.S. COVID deaths. Israeli settlers plan to establish a national park in occupied West Bank. First Quran museum in Chicago inaugurated. Saudi Arabia discovers Islamic inscription dating back to 3rd Khalifa's era. Our top story tonight. On Wednesday, U.S. prosecutors filed federal hate crime charges against a white gunman accused of targeting African Americans in a Buffalo, New York grocery store. The gunman killed 10 victims and injured 3 others. Attorney General Merrick Garland vowed to be relentless in the Justice Department's efforts to combat hate crimes after meeting with victims' families. He pledged to hold the perpetrators accountable. Peyton Gendron now faces 10 federal charges of committing a hate crime resulting in death for each of the victims killed on May 14th at Tops Friendly Market. He also faces 3 counts of committing a hate crime with the intent to kill, as well as 13 firearm violations. When Proud Boys leader Henry Enrique Tarrio was indicted in March, prosecutors cited a plan titled 1776 Returns. The full document was revealed online Wednesday. It shows details that militia groups allegedly used to plot the January 6, 2021 attack on the U.S. Capitol. The document begins with a Google Map screenshot of the U.S. Capitol and circled entrance points, including the note, "Read directions carefully." The guide begins with "Fill the buildings with patriots and communicate our demands." The document instructed followers to maintain control over select few but crucial buildings in the area for a set period of time. Part of the plan was to present a list of demands and using chants. More than 1 million people in the U.S. have been killed by COVID-19 over the past 2 years. But over 338,000 of those lives could have been saved if a universal single-payer healthcare system such as Medicare for all were in place. That's according to a new peer-reviewed research published Monday in Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences. U.S. residents pay more for health care than their peers globally. The nation's for-profit model leaves tens of millions of people uninsured and delivers worse outcomes. The ongoing pandemic has further exposed and exacerbated pre-existing inequalities. That has contributed to exceptionally high mortality compared to other high-income countries. Dr. Anthony Fauci, chief medical advisor to President Joe Biden and director of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, has tested positive for COVID-19. The 81-year-old is fully vaccinated against the virus and has received the booster twice, according to the National Institutes of Health. Fauci is experiencing mild symptoms and will continue to isolate and work from home. He was prescribed Paxlovid, the anti-COVID drug, according to an NIH representative. The agency said Fauci had not been recently in contact with Biden or other senior government officials. Fauci helped lead the U.S. government's response to the coronavirus pandemic from the outset. Check My Ads, a U.S. nonprofit aiming to defund online disinformation, has launched a new campaign against Fox News to strip it of advertising dollars. The group is calling on citizens to pressure online ad exchanges to stop doing business with Fox. The move comes amid growing calls from online advertising watchers for more transparency and accountability in the digital advertising industry. A museum showcasing a collection of historic Quranic manuscripts has opened in Rolling Meadows, Illinois. The Nagamia International Institute of Islamic Medicine and Science held a museum opening Monday featuring a rare collection of antique copies of the Quran and Quranic manuscripts. The NIIMS Museum's library contains pieces that are 600 years old. Some are the oldest historic copies of the Quran in the United States, according to a news release. The collection includes nearly 100 copies of the Quran and Quranic manuscripts, handwritten and some inscribed on bamboo, palm trees, and leather. NIIMS is the first library in the nation to acquire such artifacts, the release said. The United Nations and World Health Organization say they expect the number of abused older adults over age 60 may reach 320 million by 2050. The UN General Assembly proclaimed June 15th World Elder Abuse Awareness Day. It described elder abuse as a single or repeated act or lack of appropriate action in relationships where there is an expectation of trust, causing harm or distress. Abuse can lead to serious physical injuries and long-term psychological problems for the elderly. At least 1 billion people are 60 or older, according to data compiled from UN and WHO reports. The World Health Organization could soon change the name for the monkeypox virus, which has spread in many parts of the world in recent months. On Tuesday, Director General Tedros Ghebreyesus said the international body is working with partners and experts worldwide on the name change. The move comes after a group of 30 scientists wrote a position paper citing an urgent need to change the virus name because it is stigmatizing. They argued that referencing the virus as African is not only inaccurate but also discriminatory. Ghebreyesus said more than 1,600 confirmed cases have been reported from 39 countries. That includes 7 countries where monkeypox have been detected for years and 32 newly affected countries. Israeli settlers are planning to establish a national park in occupied West Bank. Details after the break, so stay tuned, and we'll be right back after these messages.
If I could be you, and you could be me for just 1 hour. If we could find a way to get inside each other's minds. Walk a mile in my shoes. Walk a mile in my shoes. Well, before you abuse, criticize, and accuse. Walk a mile in my shoes.
There are 16 million children struggling with hunger in America. That's 1 in 5 daughters, sons, neighbors, and classmates who don't know where their next meal is coming from. Yet billions of pounds of good food go to waste every year. It's time we do something about it. Feeding America is a nationwide network of food banks that helps provide meals to millions of kids and families in need. Visit feedingamerica.org to help them feed even more. Together, we can solve hunger. Together, we're feeding America.
Despite the development of a COVID-19 vaccine, millions around the world will not have access. We need a vaccine that's free and available to everyone, everywhere. It's time for a people's vaccine.
Billboards are popping up all over the country with an...
Our neighbors don't realize that Muslims are absolutely opposed to ISIS.
Salam. My name is Abdul Malik Mujahid. I'm an imam in Chicago.
16 shots! No me!
No justice!
No me!
So how do we bring up the energy which can really have an impact on the world?
You need to build bridges of understanding among people, and we need to have America moving forward.
That lesson learned had brought the strength of humanity to America, which is the diversity.
Mujahid Talks, only on Muslim Network TV. Faithfully connected.
Assalamu alaikum! Open up your eyes.
Assalamu alaikum everyone, it's your brother Zain Bika from South Africa. One of the first educational programs ever produced for Muslim children was the ever popular Adam's World series. The colorful and comical Muslim puppet stole the heart of a generation. Sound Vision will be releasing brand new episodes of Adam's World with the launch of a Adam's World app. Subscribers will enjoy new Adam's World episodes as they are released, as well as all the classic episodes of Adam's World. So visit adamsworldapp.com now to learn more, subscribe, and enjoy new adventures of Adam and his friends. And let's keep helping tomorrow's Muslims today. Assalamu alaikum.
It's Adam's World. Believe me, there's a lot to see. Bismillah. Let's explore.
To stop this genocide, we need your help.
Welcome back. Israeli settlers have prepared a plan to establish a huge national park in the occupied West Bank, Israeli media reported Monday. The park will extend between Jerusalem and the Dead Sea and stretch between several Israeli settlements around occupied East Jerusalem. It will eventually separate the northern and southern parts of the West Bank, the Israel Hayom newspaper reported. The park will be built on roughly 247,000 acres, the Daily added. Israeli and Palestinian estimates indicate there are about 660,000 Israeli settlers living in 145 settlements and 140 outposts in the occupied West Bank. Under international law, all Jewish settlements in occupied territories are illegal. More than 135,000 Rohingya and Kaman Muslims in Burma's Rakhine state have been arbitrarily and indefinitely detained in the last decade. That's according to a new Human Rights Watch report released Wednesday. The Watchdog group accused Burmese authorities of crimes against humanity, of apartheid, persecution, and imprisonment. They have deprived Rohingya of their liberty and threatened their lives and livelihoods, the report said. The document is based on interviews with the minority Rohingya and humanitarian workers from 2012 to present day. It documents how authorities in the predominantly Buddhist country have capitalized on the ethnic cleansing campaign launched in June 2012. Saudi Arabia has discovered an Islamic inscription dating back to the third Khalifa, Uthman bin Affan, the Saudi press agency reports. Heritage Authority in Saudi Arabia confirmed the inscription dated to the 24th year of the Hijrah. It was found by a group of people interested in antiquities and heritage within the boundaries of the Olaya Palace archaeological site of Mecca. The group published a partial reading of the inscription via social media. It is considered one of the most important archaeological inscriptions documenting an important event at the beginning of Islamic history. Coming up next after the break is our in-depth analysis segment, so stay tuned, and we'll be right back after these messages.
If I could be you, and you could be me for just 1 hour, walk a mile in my shoes, walk a mile in my shoes.
Assalamu alaikum. This is Imam Malik Mujahid in Chicago. Just like you, I was moved by that Allahu Akbar lady. She stood her ground, fearful of none, for her hijab and for her education. Sisters and brothers, Indian Muslims are facing a genocide. India does not care for Muslim protesting, but it does care for the world opinion. Therefore, we must push the United Nations. The UN has a responsibility to protect. They must prevent genocide. Please sign this UN petition now. Get others to sign. It will help. Trust me, it will help. We need 1 million signatures, brothers and sisters. Please sign now.
Dad, they took over my bedroom. Come on, come on. Okay, Dad. 1, 2, 3. Dad! You saved me. Dad?
Are you okay?
I'm fine, dear.
Your hero needs you now, and AARP is here to help. Find the care guides you need at aarp.org/caregiving.
We are Justice for All. Headquartered in the heart of downtown Chicago, Justice for All is a global humanitarian initiative dedicated to raising awareness for human rights concerns impacting vulnerable minority groups. Our diverse team of staff and volunteers, led by Imam Malik Mujahid, work tirelessly to help Justice for All achieve their goals. We promote policies that protect religious freedom, address the root causes of mass displacement, and recognize the plight of refugees and forced migrants. Together, we can continue to stand up for justice. Justice for all.
Welcome back. Jamal Khashoggi Way is a sign unveiled in front of the Saudi embassy in Washington, D.C. To discuss this development, let's go to Imam Abdul Malik Mujahid. Over to you, Imam Mujahid.
Thank you, Samana. A street sign in Washington, D.C. was unveiled, and it says Jamal Khashoggi Way. And significance is that it is right in front of the Saudi embassy to the United States. One person who attended this ceremony is Medea Benjamin. Medea Benjamin will discuss with her the ceremony as well as President Biden's forthcoming visit to Saudi Arabia. Welcome to Muslim Network TV, Medea Benjamin.
Thank you so much. Nice to be on with you.
Medea Benjamin is co-founder of Peace Group, Code Pink. She's an author, peace activist, have been fighting drones and all those type of things. So who came up with the idea to honor Jamal Khashoggi in this particular way?
This is something that 3 organizations have been working on for 2 years now. My group, Code Pink, the organization that Jamal Khashoggi was going to form, called Dawn, and the Council on American Islamic Relations, CARE. We have been petitioning our city council and gathering support among the neighbors. And we were very excited when this all came to fruition yesterday, and we were able to unveil the sign.
I assume that you were greeted and welcomed by Saudi ambassador, right?
Well, not exactly. In fact, they made sure that nobody came in or out of the embassy while we were there. They've been fighting this, very unhappy about having to see that sign when they go in and out of their embassy. But as I said, we gathered a lot of public support for it, and there was nothing they could do about it.
So what happened to those criminals? Were they punished?
That is one of the issues that we brought up during the ceremony, is that there hasn't been accountability for the ones responsible for this. And when I say responsible, I mean going all the way up the chain, because according to the U.S. intelligence agencies that studied this very carefully, they said that the Crown Prince himself, Mohammed bin Salman, known as MBS, is responsible ultimately for the murder, the very brutal murder of Jamal Khashoggi. And in case your viewers don't remember, this happened 3 years ago in the Turkish consulate when he was lured into the consulate and never came out alive. We don't know where the remains of his body are. We just do know that it was a horrific death and he was cut up with a bone saw.
It happened in Turkey. There must be some criminal cases regarding that, right?
Well, yes, except Turkey is now trying to make better relations with Saudi Arabia. And so they have transferred the case back to Saudi Arabia. And of course, Saudi Arabia is not interested in doing anything significant. It supposedly punished lower down people, but doesn't want to go up the chain because Mohammed bin Salman is the de facto ruler of Saudi Arabia, and he's certainly not going to indict himself. So I think it's quite remarkable that 3 years after this brutal murder of a Washington Post journalist, that Mohammed bin Salman has not only been, quote, rehabilitated, but he's actually going to be hosting President Biden on a trip to Saudi Arabia very soon.
So, the President Biden was pretty clear about the whole thing. What happened? Why he changed his mind?
He said that Mohammed bin Salman and Saudi Arabia should be treated as pariahs, except when he got into the White House, he realized that he wants them to help reduce the global price of oil so that U.S. voters at the gasoline station won't see that price shock and blame it on the Democratic Party during the next elections. And so he has been cozying up to the Saudis. It is very unfortunate I don't think that this is a responsible way to act as a leader who holds himself forth as a leader of the democratic world. And Biden says so many times that his policy is based on human rights. But Saudi Arabia is not just criminal for the murder of a Washington Post journalist. It's also a country that has no elections at the national level at all. It's one of the remaining absolute monarchies in the world, and that people who have dared to speak up against the kingdom find themselves either executed or languishing in prison. And one more thing we should add is that for 7 years, the Saudis have been buying U.S. weapons and using them to bomb the neighboring country of Yemen, a very poor country to begin with that is now devastatingly poor, with a child dying every 10 minutes as a consequence of this war.
Medea, you mentioned Saudi Arabia has no election. And it's absolute monarchy. I mean, are you in favor of argument that we should work on regime changes wherever there is no democracy?
I don't think the United States should be in the business of regime change. We have enough problems here at home with the tremendous polarization in our society, with continuing racism, with the lack of a decent healthcare system, millions of students who are in debt for wanting to get a college education, and an electoral system that is broken when you look at the amount of money in politics, or you look at lack of trust that the public has in our elections. We should be focusing on improving our democracy, not trying to impose our will on other countries. I'm not saying that the U.S. should break relations with Saudi Arabia. I am saying, though, that the U.S. should not be treating Saudi Arabia as a close ally.
You have been a long-time activist, Medea Benjamin. Do you remember any time when the United States preferred human rights over its national interest?
Well, that's a good question, and I can't think of a time at all. I grew up during the time of the Vietnam War, when the U.S. was killing people thousands of miles away for no good reason. And then I have seen the U.S. involved in wars over these decades that have been wars of aggression. And just like we're seeing the Russians' aggression in the Ukraine today, we have unfortunately seen that in many places, from Afghanistan, Iraq, Libya, U.S. support for Israel, U.S. support for the Saudis in the war in Yemen. So unfortunately, I don't think the U.S. lives up to the ideals that it pretends that it is based on.
Medea, I mean, you come up with a unique way of protesting and making a statement, sneaking behind the displays and taking over a microphone, and you're able to fight drones and everything else. Now you have discovered a new ways of naming streets so directly in front of the Saudi embassy for the slain journalist Jamal Khashoggi. Do you think you can continue to apply that strategy to other embassies? Is there a possibility, for example, of Shireen Abu Akleh, slain journalist, Palestinian, that we name a street in her honor in front of the Israeli embassy?
It's so interesting that you bring this up, because this is precisely our next campaign. It's going to be a very tough one. It's going to be hard to get our city council to go along with that, but it's going to be a good fight in which we show the public support that exists here in Washington, D.C. for Shireen and for the rights of Palestinians. So I think it's going to be a very educational process, and I have no idea if we will win in the end, but it's a good one to embark on.
So, Medea, now you know that I can read your mind, right?
Absolutely. You are a very good mind reader. I must say, though, there is a law that says that you can't rename the streets until 2 years after the person has passed away. So it will be a 2-year struggle. But I think if we start right away with the example of what happened at the Saudi embassy, perhaps we can succeed.
Well, thank you so much, Medea Benjamin, for your time. Truly appreciate your effort for peace and justice around the world.
Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Back to you, Samana.
Thank you, Imam Mujahid. That's all from our Chicago studios tonight. Thank you for tuning in. You can find previous episodes and more on our YouTube or Facebook. For more content, keep watching Muslim Network TV or visit muslimnetwork.tv. Salam and good night.